Welcome to the Stories Told podcast. This is episode 129. Woe Be Gone. This is the Stories Told podcast. Two authors talking about stories in movies, TV, and of course, books.
I'm Michael Grayford. I write action-adventure stories in fantasy and sci-fi worlds, sometimes for younger readers and sometimes for adults. And I try to always inject at least a little bit of humor.
And I am author E.W. Barnes, and I write action-adventure, time travel novels, and space opera science fiction. Thousands of years, thousands of worlds. But be forewarned, beyond here, there will be spoilers. Are you ready for the adventure? Let's begin. Welcome back to the Stories Told podcast. I'm author E.W. Barnes, and with me is Michael Grayford. And today we're talking about the story told in Wednesday Season 2, episodes 5 through 8. How you doing today, Mike?
Hello, I'm doing well today. How are you?
I'm doing well, too. Thank you. And what's new in your writing world?
New in the writing world is same as before. Just making slow progress on Zara 3, just doing outlining there. And yeah, that's about it. Nothing super exciting, unfortunately. Just plodding along. What's going on in your writing world?
Not much. Still have not really gotten much done in the Adventures of the Empyrean Guard. But I will say that the life issues are starting to ease a bit. So I'm hoping to be able to get back to it soon.
Oh, good.
So that's kind of nice. Yeah, thanks. And what interesting stories have you come across in books, movies, or television recently?
Let's see. What have I come across? I just finished the final season of a Netflix show called You. I don't know if you've seen that or heard anything about that.
No.
I don't know that I would recommend it. Certainly not to women. It's about this guy who's like this. He's like this charming guy, and he has this in his mind that he wants to meet this perfect woman, and then he meets someone and he builds her up in his mind to be this perfect woman, and then it ends in disappointment and he ends up killing her and finding another woman, and it's like this. He's basically a serial killer. He's like this crazy guy, and it has some humor to it. It's like this really weirdly done show where it's like you hear his voiceover and what he's thinking about and how he's always like in his mind he's like this Prince Charming character. Yeah, I don't know. It's very well written. It's kind of like a thriller, I guess, with some dark humor. It's very disturbing. But
Okay,
it is well written, but it's kind of disturbing. I would think, especially for a woman to watch.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think I'll skip that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good.
So anyway, that was it. That's all I got.
Okay. For me, not much. Continuing to watch the episodes of the Great British Bake Off because I like that, or the British Baking Show, or whatever they call it. That's autumn comfort watching for me. I am really excited because as of this recording, season 5 of Ghosts is now available, or at least it's begun. I don't know whether if they're going to be releasing it one episode at a time. Let me see here. Yep, one episode at a time. So we're going to have to watch it once a week for this. But as I understand it, this is the last season. So this should be kind of fun, hopefully. I do know that as it is spooky season, my offspring likes to watch scary movies. And so the only one that I've heard that has been decided upon is the movie The Others. Do you remember that one? Nicole Kidman?
Yeah, it's a good movie. I like that movie.
I thought so too. I don't want to watch it again, but... Oh, also, did you hear that Netflix now is showing... They essentially bought Halo. Remember when Halo that we started watching and then they canceled it?
Yeah. I was hoping they might do another season of it.
Yeah, I think they're waiting to see how it performs.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Then maybe they'll then pay for the next season. I enjoyed it. As I know, it did not match the game, and a lot of people were unhappy about it, including my offspring. But as science fiction by itself, I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I didn't have any connection to the game. That didn't bother me. I thought thought it started to hit its stride in the second season.
And speaking of Netflix, I noticed that The Witcher has a new season coming soon. There's a little flag on that. Let's see if we can figure out when they're going to release The Witcher. Ooh, October 30th. And that's the new season with Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah. Have you watched the previous seasons?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Have we haven't talked Witcher on the podcast?
No.
I think we need to talk Witcher on the podcast.
Yeah, we can talk Witcher.
There's been some of it that's been, unbelievably gory and not my style, but there's other parts of it that I thought have been really, really quite good.
Yeah. I don't mind the gore. That's fine for me.
Yes, I know. You ready to talk about Wednesday?
Today's Thursday, but we can talk Wednesday.
Today we're talking about the story told in the television series Wednesday, Season 2, Episodes 5 through 8. And those are the episodes Hide and Woe Seek, Woe Thyself, Woe Me the Money, and This Means Woe. And I'm going to now read the very brief little summary that comes up on Google. While attending Nevermore Academy, Wednesday Addams attempts to master her emerging psychic ability, thwart a killing spree, and solve the mystery that embroiled her parents 25 years ago. Did you enjoy the last 4 episodes and the season as a whole?
Yeah, I did. I think overall I enjoyed it. I have some issues with this season, but overall I liked it. There's a lot of good stuff. And we'll get to what we can improve later, obviously. But I thought these 4 episodes, I enjoyed coming off of the previous 4. I thought it had some fun things in here. The standout for me was the Flipping Bodies episode, where we get to see Wednesday all colorful and happy. And then learn that she is actually allergic to color. I thought that was fun. But even though it's kind of a silly gimmick, a lot of different shows and movies have done that thing where it's like they switch bodies. I usually like it because it's just fun to watch the actors portray the other character, and we get to see this sort of them trying to figure out what it's like to be that other person. I think that's interesting. It's an amusing way to have characters learn about each other, right? And in this case, gain some respect for the other person's position in life and what they're going through and kind of how it is for them, what their unique challenges are. And we get to see how Enid and Wednesday learn something about the other person and learn something that the other person may not know until they figure it out later. Like Enid learning that the prophecy changes to Adam and Adam's dying, or Wednesday learns that Enid, might be an alpha, which she hadn't known before. So things like that they did, I thought were really good. It wasn't just straight gimmick, but they actually used it for a story purpose, to build tension and intrigue and a little bit of awareness for each other and also some conflict with each other. So I thought that was cool. I thought Weems coming back and being a spirit guide was amusing. Get to see that character again, who we thought was just gone. I thought the ending for Dort, where he gets turned to stone and then crushed by the chandelier, was kind of fun, but honestly, I kind of thought I wanted there to be a little bit more to that, like him to face a little bit more punishment for what he had done. But I guess that's fine. And wrapped up quickly. I thought the reveal of Thing being Isaac Knight's hand was interesting. I was not expecting that. I don't know if that was something that had ever been discussed in Addams Family lore before. I'm not familiar with Addams Family lore. I suspect that was just something they made up for this show, but it was kind of cool. One of my favorite moments was Enid's climactic moment, where Wednesday has been buried and Enid has to face this choice: become a werewolf under the full moon and potentially never be able to revert back to human form, or let Wednesday die on Earth. I thought that was a great setup for a tough decision for a character in their climactic moment. So I thought that was really good. What else was there this season? I think, in these episodes, obviously at the end, we see Aunt Ophelia is alive. which I think probably wasn't a surprise to most people watching the show, given that people are constantly not dead in this show. And they kept bringing her up and her connection to Wednesday with the visions and things like that. So I don't think it was a surprise. At least it wasn't a surprise to me that she was still there. So I'm interested to see where they go with that, though. So, but overall, I liked it. There's a lot of fun stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. Again, we get a lot of family elements in these 4 episodes, continuing, I think, from the previous episode or from the previous, half of the season. I guess this is more of an Addams Family season than a Wednesday season, since we get so much with the other characters. But I think that aspect was okay. Gives us a little bit more to work with. Anyway, yeah, overall, I generally liked it. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. Overall, I enjoyed the season. I think it was very enjoyable. There are a couple of things that I might have changed, but overall, I really thought the season carried forward well. I agree. I was very suspicious of the body snatching episode because it has been used as a gimmick, as you very rightly say. And it wasn't. It was really well done. It was woven in a way that felt organic and genuine and turned out to be an incredibly enjoyable episode. I too loved seeing Weems come back, and the sort of inherent conflict in having Weems serve as Wednesday's spirit guide was phenomenal. I mean, I think that was, you had Goody, who was sort of like, we're the same, and now you have Weems, who's sort of like, we're very different. And so that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I also really liked bringing Tyler in as a main antagonist or contagonist in the story. Was really good because there was so much time and effort built into the development of that relationship in season 1, only to have him sort of carted off at the end. Like, okay, here was this incredibly layered villain and now he's gone. And so I kind of liked bringing him back because of all the work that was done and because he is such a layered villain. And so I thought that was really cool. I liked how Enid had her own issues. She wasn't just supporting character to Wednesday. She had her own, and it wasn't just, I have to say I have to save Enid plot line for Wednesday. There was also an Enid specific plot line that needed to be resolved. That I thought was really well done. So I enjoyed that very much. So let's talk about what we might have changed. And I'm wondering if you and I both have the same kinds of things that we would have changed.
Yeah, I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about this too. Okay, let's start off. So there's some little things that, aren't that significant, but when I saw them, they kind of stood out to me. When we learn who Francoise is, the mother Hyde, and I think back to, she was down there in the dungeon and she was just sitting in the cell, where Tyler was like chained up and bolted and electrified and all this stuff. And, she was just sitting there. It's like, but isn't she a Hyde? Like, couldn't she have just broken out of that cell easily? And they kind of set that up before with Tyler. So maybe I missed something there, why she wasn't more constrained, but I feel like she should have been. Anyway, that's a fairly small thing. Another thing that stood out, again, fairly small, the reconstruction of Isaac's lab in the tower that was destroyed back in the day. It made it seem like been so much destroyed as just merely disassembled, and he just had to put the parts back together again, just plug things back in. Versus the way they showed it was like this big explosion, everything's destroyed, and it's like there would have been just nothing left of that place. It had been pieces and parts and burned and all this stuff, and it's like he just had to reconnect stuff and it was fine. So that seemed kind of weird, and it also made me think, after these decades, why did they just leave this tower in that state? They didn't try to fix it or anything. It's just sitting there. None of that really made sense. I feel like it could have been better explained if there had been some underground lair that had been, not destroyed, but just like broken apart or something. And then they refixed it easily. Anyway, again, fairly small thing. They needed to move the plot along. I get it. Another thing that struck me, again, it's not hugely important to what's going on with this family, but the police seem utterly useless. It would be nice if they successfully accomplished something. It feels like, we need to show that the police are involved because this bad stuff keeps happening, but they don't really do anything. So I would have liked to have seen something, some accomplishment from them there. I feel like Morticia and Gomez would have been a lot more concerned once Gomez realized who the zombie was, given that there was this guy who had tried to kill him years ago and drained him of his ability. It seemed like they both would have been a lot more serious about that at that point, and not so, oh yeah, we just let him walk away, no big deal. That kind of struck me as odd. I feel like if it played out as is, I would have liked to have seen more of a reaction for them and more concern than we got. Another thing, I feel like Hester, I think that's her name, Morticia's mom, wouldn't have been so easily manipulated by Bianca. That just struck me as wrong. Like, she knows sirens are a thing. I mean, she has this experience in this world, and she's had all this success. It's like she doesn't have some kind of charm to ward against this kind of attack on her, given her status and her wealth. Any siren could just come up to her and take it at any moment. Like, that doesn't seem believable to me. It was just way too easy for Bianca or any siren to cause so much havoc. So I feel like she should have had some kind of charm to ward against it, and then, that charm was stolen or something without her knowing, something like that, just to make that a little bit more believable. A bigger thing that I noticed this season was I don't really like how Wednesday was just so mean, especially to this girl who's following her, Agnes. I get that she doesn't want someone fawning all over her, but to be so hostile to someone who legitimately wants to help, it was a bit much, and I don't think it was necessary. I think if it felt like she was so mean to the point where Agnes was going to become a villain and lash out against her, and they didn't go that way. So I don't know why she needed to be that mean. She could have been dismissive. There's plenty of ways they could have handled that a little softer. And then for me, the biggest concern I had with this season is there were so many things going on, and thematically they didn't always seem to complement each other. So I would have tried to make the themes a little tighter, maybe had, one or two less side plots going on, and have a more focused message for the season. That's my biggest complaint. What do you think?
I have too many threads. And I think part of the problem is simply this. I agree with you 100%. There was too much going on. But I think part of it was that it was too much going on, all revolving around the A plot. And there really wasn't a B plot or a series of B plots. And I think if they had taken these threads and simply made them B plots, then it might have really worked. I think the whole Pugsley and his zombie pet could have stayed a B plot. And that could have revolved around connecting with his dad, connecting with his, making friends with the young man whose name I can't remember, but the beekeeper boy.
Yeah.
That could have been a full-on B plot. It didn't have to be Isaac. It didn't have to be the brother of Francoise. It didn't have to be anything. It could have just been the zombie he accidentally reincarnated and dealing with that as he attends his first year at Nevermore. Could have been a lighthearted counterpoint to the darker stuff that was happening with Wednesday and been really satisfying. Instead, they turned it into something woven in with the A story, and then it was just too much. I think the same thing with Dort. I think Dort should have been just a sort of bizarre little B plot on the side, sorting out what was going on with his story, instead of making it all woven in with Wednesday and her grandmother and her parents and all that. Quirky little B plot, and you're done. The other thing that I thought was disappointing was, last season, Wednesday solved the mystery of the accusation of murder against her father because of the death of the kid who was on drugs or whatever he was on, exposed to some terrible thing that made him froth in the mouth, right?
Yeah.
So it was Wednesday had to solve the mystery of what embroiled her parents 25 years ago. Oh no, look, now Wednesday has to solve the mystery of what embroiled her parents 25 years ago.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
I was like, why do we have to do this again? There's so much stuff going on here that you didn't need to add that layer. It could have been just mom and dad are there because of the gala thing. That could have been part of the Dort B story. They're annoying, but it's nice that dad's there to help Pugsley work through his shoot. Mom's there to help work through the Dort story, and it didn't have to make them sort of front and center again. And here's something else. Maybe I missed something. And I will be the first one to admit it. I don't know the details of werewolf stuff. But I thought werewolves regularly wolfed out at the full moon, so I was very confused by the whole I can't wolf out or I'm an alpha thing.
Yeah, I think it was something, not just that, but because some other things that had happened to her, right? Like she had
She wolfed
wolfed
out
out
at
late.
non full moon, but didn't she always wolf out at full moon? That whole whatever the world building is around that was not, I don't think, explained. At least I didn't pick it up, and so that part was incredibly confusing to me.
I think they at least tried to explain. I remember them trying to explain it, where they were saying, "Oh, because you were so late to, the first time you wolfed out, it was like years after or whatever, and this and that, these other things, you might be an alpha." It's like, yeah, but they kind of glossed over it. You're right. I
So
to the extent that I don't really remember what they were, I just kind of
right,
ran with it.
and maybe that stuff is really clear to werewolf story fans, and so they got it and they totally clued in. And I just don't know that much about werewolf stuff, so maybe there's something I just don't know or understand. So there we go.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I thought was, I think, undeveloped and not well defined, and I think could have been better developed as part of the A story, was all this stuff about the prophecy stuff, right? She starts bleeding black tears, but we don't really get an explanation why, except that she's using her gift too much, right? But I don't think there was enough sort of laying out the world building for that piece of it. Part of what was sort of distracting to me was, Weems came on, become her spirit guide. Great. I would have liked Weems to have explained a few things about the black tears and
Yeah.
had both of them say, well, the first vision was of Enid dying and it was Wednesday's fault, but then that didn't come true. So then this next vision of an Adams dying, maybe that won't come true too. How do we avoid it from happening? Instead of just assuming, once again, that it's going to happen. So there was no sort of evolution of the understanding of how the prophecy gift works, which was kind of frustrating.
No, you're right. That's a great point. They absolutely should have said, it should have been immediately, okay, how do we stop this from happening? We stopped the last one, at least changed it. So now how do we stop it or change it again?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I feel like the whole, black coming ahead of her eyes thing was something that, since it happened so early in the show, I thought that was going to be something that was resolved in this season, but it seems like because they've introduced Ophelia now, that's something that's going to carry on into next season, which I guess that's fine. It's good to have threads that are still open for future seasons.
Sure. But Wednesday is so smart. I think she should have been the one that said, well, the Enid one didn't come through, so this one's not going to come true either. We can make it not come true instead of just buying it wholesale. But that's actually part of the problem for her, and that's why I think it needed to be better, evolve a little better. It's been her, the whole reason I think she had the black tears was because she was relying on the prophecy so much to help guide her because she believed it was true. And so maybe even Weems saying, that's part of your problem. You believe this to be true when it's not true, which is something her mother's also been trying to say to her. And so having sort of that continued push of, that's in the hero's journey. You have somebody who always states what it is that the hero needs to learn, that the hero initially rejects and then over time does finally learn it. And so I think her mom saying it and then Weems echoing that, I think very clearly would have been helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
So those were my big ones. I agree. There was lots of sort of little bit logic inconsistencies throughout that some time spent on those to sort of just clean those up would have been well done. And I think that happened because there were so many threads. And if there weren't so many threads, we wouldn't have had so many of those logic inconsistencies.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, for example, wouldn't it have been great if after Dort was turned to stone, the police came and arrested him? Then the police would have actually done something.
Yeah, exactly. I would have preferred that.
So let's talk about themes. Did you derive any themes from this season of Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, and what we just talked about, there's a lot going on here. I think there's a lot of family stuff going on this season. We've got the mother-daughter relationships, right, with Wednesday and Morticia and her mom, and they're dealing with overcoming, stuff from their past, traumas or perceived traumas, however they were raised. And we see that when Morticia eventually gives Wednesday her sister's journal, so we see some development there in their relationship. We see father-son relationship with Gomez and Pugsley, how they're, he's trying to be more present in Pugsley's life. Although he doesn't seem to do much guiding. He's more just supportive, which is I guess a different view from how Morticia handles things. And then there's the Bianca with her mother, that storyline, and the family relationship with Francoise and Tyler, the Hydes, and Isaac Knight. It's got that whole family thing going. So there's a lot of parent-child relationships going on this season, in particular mother-daughter, I guess, or mother-child. But I'm not sure I got a consistent theme or message from those, because it seemed like they're all doing kind of different things. So there's a lot of friendship-related stuff going on as well. We've got the new girl, Agnes, trying so hard to be Wednesday's friend and ultimately becoming friends with Enid, and Eugene and Pugsley and Ajax, and his interactions with all of them. And there's a lot of friendships going too. I didn't really get a specific theme or message from that either, other than it's just there. For me, it seems like despite all the other stuff that was happening, all the family stuff, all these other things that were going on, it still feels like it came down to the relationship between Wednesday and Enid. Because in the climactic moment, what happens? It's Enid has to decide to wolf out and potentially become, a werewolf forever, or a wolf forever. Yeah, so it's her making that decision in the climactic moment. So I think that was kind of their, they had their conflicts at the beginning, and then they had to resolve it, and they had to show that they're friends with each other, and they swapped bodies. So I think that was like the main thing for me. So for me, I don't know. I guess I would say ultimately a true friend will do anything necessary to save the other one. That's
Nice.
That's the one that I get, although I think it's a bit muddled with all the other stuff that's going on in the season. What did you come up with?
I actually honed in on those friendships that you were talking about, because this was a story of lots of different kinds of friendships for me. That's what I was seeing. So you pointed out, there's Wednesday and Enid, there's Wednesday and Agnes and Enid, there's Pugsley and Eugene. Thank you for reminding me of his name. There's also the friendship between Morticia and Weems, and Morticia and Francoise, and like you said, Ajax and Bianca, and they're developing friendship, and
Yeah.
I focused on those, and I came up with a theme of friendship comes in many forms.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thanks. So as a writer, what do you come away with from the second season of Wednesday?
Let's see. From the second, well, for me, I'm focusing mostly on this second half of the second season. But maybe I should have done the whole season. But anyway, there's a couple things I take away. One is I really like the use of dramatic irony, which in writing understanding is where the reader or the viewer knows something that the character doesn't, right? So it leads to a sense of tension or suspense or worry or amusement or whatever. I think that can be done really well. And in this case, I liked where Wednesday and Enid, when they switched bodies, they both learned something about each other when they were body swapped, and the other didn't know about it. So I thought that was a good use of dramatic irony, where we know what's going on because we see both. The characters don't know something about each other. So we get that sense of tension, or we get that sense of amusement of when they're going to figure it out. So I like that. That's one thing I took away. But the thing I really liked that I think they did well was the choice that Enid has to make to save Wednesday at the end. I thought that was a great climactic moment for the character have to risk everything they are to save someone else. I really like that.
For me, my takeaway is about all of those storylines trying to be woven together, and how I think that the season as a whole would have been served better by having a couple of those storylines be B stories instead of A stories. And so for me, my takeaway is it's okay to have B stories that don't weave directly into the A story, and they may serve as counterpoints to the A story. And I think that is a good use for B stories. So not to have too much woven into the A story and to have strategic use of B stories is my takeaway.
Nice.
Thank you for joining us as we talked about the story told in Wednesday Season 2, Episodes 5 through 8. A huge thanks to our Patreon supporters and all our listeners. Your support, noticed through every like and share, means the world to us. If you enjoyed today's themes, here are some further readings. Michael's Tales of Zara series was inspired by the Arabian mythology of 1001 Nights. Start with the Golden Scarab of Balahar, an enchanting quest that will captivate readers who love magic, wonder, and strong heroines. Links are in the show notes if you're curious to explore more. The Stories Told podcast is on all major platforms. Please like, subscribe, or follow to help us reach more story lovers like you. For book, TV, or movie suggestions, drop a note on our YouTube channel, and that link is also in the show notes. You can find Michael Grayford at michaelgrayford.com and E.W. Barnes at 1000years.com. Join us next time as we talk about the story told in the novel Dracula. Thanks so much, Mike. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
And we'll see you next time on the Stories Told podcast.